Hey everyone, finish reading the new Boom Studios one-shot Power Rangers Infinity. Only the first page and I'm confused. It's some exposition about the premise of the comic. Different teams of Rangers are called Power Cycles, not to be confused with battle bikes. I think this is also the only page to feature any actual Rangers. We're then treated to a full-page illustration of Power Rangers Paladin Force, a night-themed team. There's text boxes giving some background information, and some of them even share dialogue that tell us their names. None of it matters. They're introduced for the sole purpose of being killed or something. A pair of glowing pink eyes appears. Whoever this is, they're the ones behind whatever has befallen Paladin Force. We're then introduced to Power Rangers Personal Trainer Force. I feel the need to point out that among actual Power Rangers show canon, the word Force hasn't been used since Super Mega Force, which is over 10 years ago at this point. Disney only used Force once, and before that was Time Force and Wild Force. That's only 4 instances, 5 if you count Megaforce and Super Megaforce as 2 separate seasons. If we go outside show canon, there's Hyperforce. It's a small detail, but to me it feels like the writer making it blatantly clear that they're not actually that familiar with the show. Enough of random teams getting introduced and eliminated. Now we're at a Comic-Con. A girl wearing a goofy outfit is waiting in line to meet someone from Highland Studios, publisher of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comics. She wants to show off her portfolio of illustrations in hopes of being brought on to work on their comics. She's a bit nervous and worries they'll turn her down. She stands around daydreaming when the person she's been in line to meet calls her name. Her name is Lola Navarro. So, at this event, people had to schedule appointments to meet the guests? That's kind of weird. Not unheard of, but definitely not something I'd expect from what appears to be like a pretty typical Comic-Con. This sounds more like a job interview, but Lola is dressed like she's in costume. Actually, looking closer at the artwork, I see she's one of the only people in costume. Anyway, the woman she was in line to meet looks through her sketchbook and just gives her a confused look and tells her they stopped doing Power Rangers comics. She goes on to say her illustrations are already too similar to what they already have, and that Lola is too focused on drawing what they want and not what she wants. She flips to a page with a drawing of the costume Lola is wearing and asks to hear her story. Lola panics and begins to pick up her things to leave when suddenly someone appears behind her. It's Poisandra! She tells Lola she wants her help in creating the perfect Power Rangers cycle. She continues on to explain that she found out how to destroy the Rangers. What? Why is she going to create a Power Rangers cycle if she also wants to destroy the Rangers? Poisandra drags Lola away, and the woman at the booth yells that Scary and Dangerous is out of character for Poisandra. Again, what? Poisandra was a main villain. Scary and Dangerous is totally in character. Not to the audience, of course, but to the characters in-universe. Lola and the woman mention Poisandra appearing in Ninja Steel and Beast Morphers, so that establishes that these events are in the real world. I'm very confused. Out of nowhere appears yet another Power Rangers team, Infinity. They're a mismatched group with similar helmets, but very different outfits otherwise. And even a bear. They battle Poisandra for a while, and suddenly a group of Poisandra cosplayers appear to cheer her on and cause a distraction, allowing her to escape through a portal. For some reason, the Infinity Rangers couldn't tell the difference between the real Poisandra and the cosplayer. They're even trying to remove their masks, to which the Yellow Ranger says, "They're all normies." I don't think anyone involved with the making of this comic knows what the word normie means.
We call you normies.
The Infinity team depart through a portal. We see them gathered around a campfire in a wasteland of damaged Zords. Lola follows and asks if an empty helmet is someone's skull. The Infinity team know of her. Poisandra mentioned her. They introduce themselves. They're all survivors from alternate universes or something that Poisandra destroyed. They all look to the sky at shining lights. The bear guy, Kumo, explains that with every power cycle, new lights appear. The others explain that Poisandra has a device she can use to initiate a power cycle. Lola is confused. Wouldn't that just mean more Rangers? They then give some more information. With every new power cycle that Poisandra creates, the old one disappears. She's trying to create a team that she can defeat. Man, this is really stupid. Isn't that exactly what she's been doing? I don't see any paladin force or personal trainer force on the Infinity team, so presumably, safe to assume, Poisandra's wiped them out. They don't exist. They've been defeated, essentially. If that's not a defeat, then what is it? Back to the stupid story, the Infinity team have a magic amulet MacGuffin that alerts them to where Poisandra is. Unfortunately, they never arrive in time. The team debate what they should do with Lola and agree to let her stay. Lola is scared. She isn't sure she has what it takes to be a ranger. The little old lady ranger, Peggy, assures Lola that if she believes in herself, that's enough. The alarm goes off. Poisandra has created a new power cycle. Power Rangers Paisley Overdrive. Poisandra is about to erase them and start a new cycle, but the Infinity team makes it just in time. Or maybe not. Paisley Overdrive never shows up again. Fuck you. Poisandra grabs Lola and escapes through a portal. Poisandra straps Lola to a chair and info dumps that she apparently killed Sledge. Okay. Anyway, the reason she wanted Lola was because Lola is capable of creating a power cycle of Rangers weak enough for her to destroy. I hate this. I really hate this. Poisandra puts a helmet on Lola and causes her to see herself lose confidence and live a dull, boring life, grow old, and become a frog monster. Lola breaks free of the device and morphs her silly cosplay, becoming a silly Power Rangers outfit. The Infinity team comes to her aid. It's revealed the MacGuffin was on Lola, allowing the team to find her. They destroy Poisandra's device and she retreats. Lola is confused. She watches as the Infinity team doesn't celebrate, but laments. They tell her that for the next cycle to be born, all previous must go. What? Abruptly, Lola finds herself back at the convention, showing the woman at the booth her sketchbook. Through her experience, Lola has gained confidence in herself and enthusiastically tells the story of Power Rangers Infinity. We see her in the future, looking lovingly at her own published comic, Power Rangers Infinity. Boy, this was an experience. I have no idea what in the world is going on at Boom Studios. If it's not Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, their comics seem to be ridiculous nonsense no one asked for. At least this is bonkers insane instead of the horse tranquilizer that is Ranger Academy. The weird thing with Boom's output, besides the main comics, is fundamentally they don't work. They're all set in alternate worlds, with a ton of lore and rules completely unique to that comic and not explained anywhere. Boom kinda seems to be desperate to not feature any team that isn't Mighty Morphin. Oh sure, we've gotten a few comics here and there, not directly MMPR connected, like Sins of the Future and, From what I've seen of the upcoming comics, I don't think the style is going to change. The upcoming Prime comic centers around Lauren, supposedly on the run from Eltarian police in Angel Grove. The Usagi Yojimbo comic bizarrely ignores the Samurai Rangers because MMPR is what sells. So yeah, I don't get it. I'm old. I'm not with it. I'm not the audience for the Boom Power Rangers comics. The comics that insist on using a team from 3 decades ago over any other, or then they make up their own original stuff that apparently sells well, but they still can't do non-MMPR comics. Analysis of Infinity. It's a fever dream on crack and most other drugs at the same time. When it was announced, I didn't know what to expect. A completely original team with Poisandra as the primary antagonist? I'm still not even sure what this was that I read. The whole Power Cycles thing, I just can't wrap my head around. How did someone even conceptualize that? The show has continuity between seasons. They even reference Poisandra returning in future seasons after her own in this comic. If Power Cycles were a thing in the actual show, Poisandra would cease to exist as soon as Ninja Steel begins. How about the couple real teams from the first page? I'll be fair and only talk about their continuity in the series. First up is good ol' MMPR. Yep, good ol' MMPR. How I hate it. MMPR had 3 separate seasons that led directly into Zia, which led directly into Turbo, which led directly into In Space. I'll be charitable and not mention Lost Galaxy's holdovers from those previous seasons. But that's 4 distinctly different yet connected teams. Next is Dino Thunder. Dr. O is a grown-up Tommy. Okay, maybe that's not fair. MMPR is the God of Power Rangers, so references to that are okay. In the first episode, Mesagog mentions Lothor by name. Then, of course, there's Legacy of Power. That documents most previous teams. Of course, that episode also implies those teams all lost their powers somehow, but according to the rules established by this comic, those teams shouldn't just lack powers, they should not exist, period. Jungle Fury. Oh, this one was really close. RJ and Casey are at least aware of what Power Rangers are, which, according to the rules of this comic, would be impossible. Casey returns in person in Super Megaforce to help Emma and Jake, though at the end he does disappear in an ethereal way. Maybe Jungle Fury just took a bit longer to disappear than the others. RPM is the last of any actual teams to be depicted through art, and it is one of the few seasons not to have any explicit continuity to the past. There's a few little things, Venjix sharing his name with the villain of Forever Red, Max Overdrive helmet appearing in Rubble, and a possibly non-canon post-finale toy commercial that depicts the RPM Rangers stumbling across the Zeo Command Center. After RPM, Samurai established it was in another dimension. Future seasons also stuck with this, which I wouldn't mention if not for the comic doing so. Lola and the woman at the Comic-Con booth mentioned Poisandra appearing in Ninja Steel and Beast Morphers. Beast Morphers especially ties in with RPM, as their main villain has ties to Venjix, and several RPM characters make appearances there. So yeah, take that, comic. Thought you could pull a fast one, but you failed to consider that I have no life and have an encyclopedic knowledge of Power Rangers bullshit. The part with the Poisandra cosplayers was pretty weird and out there, and also completely disconnected from anything else going on in the comic. The only very vague purpose they serve is a distraction for Poisandra to get away, and it kind of seems like she could have just done that on her own. And I had a suspicion that possibly the Poisandra cosplayers were an addition after the comic had already been completed. When this comic was announced, the initial description described Poisandra as a D-list villain. That's a pretty weird descriptor, and understandably a lot of fans questioned, why are you describing her as a D-list villain? She was a main villain for all of Dino Charge, Supercharge. She came back in multiple other seasons. She was really popular. The fans bullied Bandai into getting her a toy. So, yeah, not D-list. And I'm wondering, did Boom see the people complaining about that and add this in as like a response to the backlash they got? I don't really know. It would be really petty, or maybe they just thought it was a funny idea and they figured they could add on a couple more pages. But yeah, it's very unusual that the comic kind of treats Poisandra as being pretty important and like even killing the other Dino Charge villains for some reason, which just makes it all the weirder that they would describe her as D-list at the beginning. Something that's not even in the comic. The comic certainly doesn't describe her as D-list. Also, the whole thing with Poisandra destroying universes because she couldn't defeat the Ranger team of that universe. How does something that contradictory even make it through someone's head enough to get into the... What's kind of disappointing is that I think the story could have worked much better with a few minor tweaks. First off, get rid of Lola and the whole framing device. Focus on the Infinity Team. This should have been their story. Get rid of the Power Cycles thing. I don't even know what it is. Spend some time with the different teams. Give some weight to them being lost. Poisandra isn't creating new worlds. She's hopping dimensions. She's done it before in the show, so it's not too much of a stretch to do it here. Maybe her device locks away the Rangers somewhere, but the teams that she targets don't know that, and they think their teams are dead. The Infinity Team comes together and destroy her device, freeing their teams. Poisandra sees she's outnumbered and leaps into yet another dimension. Also, maybe just have all the Dino Charge villains present. There's no reason for it to just be Poisandra. So yeah, there's my take on how I think this story could have worked a little bit better. The thing I liked best about this comic was the individual Infinity Rangers, especially the pirate guy. Unfortunately, they're just not really that important. I didn't mention him or most of the Infinity Team because they're all interchangeable. The exact same story would work with anyone else in their place. There didn't even have to be 5. There could have been 1 Ranger and the story would have worked about the same. This comic is pretty far out there, and I don't know who the audience was intended to be. The idea of a real-world fan becoming a ranger is similar to the premise of the Super Sentai series Akiba Ranger. In that show, a couple Sentai fans get to live out their dreams of being rangers in delusions. Yet the more they experience these delusions, the world of Sentai becomes real. Actual supervillains, actual rangers appearing by their side. A fan becoming a ranger also happens in Gokaiger. A young man has been documenting the history of the various Sentai teams and eventually joins the Gokaigers as a source of information. Power Rangers, oddly, hasn't explored this idea much. Back in Turbo, TJ says he always wanted to be a ranger. Ninja Storm's Dustin knows the Power Rangers from comics. Boom and SPD wants to become a ranger, but he doesn't. And that's it. I was really stretching with even those few I could think of. Infinity is a weird comic, and I have no doubt in my mind a lot of people will love it because they're not me. A lot of people, I'd even go so far as to assume most people aren't me. Most people have zero issue with most of Boom's Power Rangers comics. Continuity, timeline, art style, designs, original characters, and concept, it doesn't bother them at all. They can pick this up and read it and forget it, and pick it up, read it again, and enjoy themselves. So go read it for yourself. I didn't like it. I thought it was bizarre. I thought it was something that no one asked for. We didn't need. Definitely not at this point, where we have entire teams of rangers. Like, again, Samurai, crazy popular season, especially with younger fans that you should probably be marketing your comics to. I think maybe just a standalone comic about those characters would work far better than Lauren being dropped into the Boom universe with Altarian police hunting her down because she's a Power Ranger in Angel Grove and Zordon doesn't exist. What does any of that mean? That's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.
I'm gonna go kill myself.